You say, I used to be afraid that it meant sitting side by side in rocking chairs on a front porch staring out at the world. Maybe that will be us one day, but I want the gap between today and that day to be very different. So, based on that quote and what you've experienced in your 54 years of marriage, how is, generally speaking here, how is love different in the first half than the second? Are there some ringing differences you've seen?
I think for us, we went through all the stuff that a lot of people go through in marriage. We had a rough time. We were on the edge of divorce since year seven. So we had to work through a lot of things. You raise kids together and all the stuff that comes along with that and the distractions that come with that and loving kids, loving the things we did. That we know we set our marriage on the back burner for a period of time then. One of the purposes of the book is to help people maybe think about and not make some of the mistakes we made. And so I think as the kids got older and we became empty nest, we began to, I think our marriage, our love for each other really grew because we were spending more time with each other. And I think the one of the mistakes that I would go back and do different is that I think we didn't do some things in the earlier years raising kids that I think would have benefited us going in the second half of marriage. We didn't take a trip for just the two of us for years. And then when we finally did take that trip, when I think my daughter was graduating, it was like, what have we been missing? Because you got to get away together. You got to just spend that time together. And so, what I see coming in second half, once you get that emptiness, you kind of, I mean, it's kind of weird at first. It's like we don't have to go home and to help with homework or to fix dinner or anything. We can do whatever we want whenever we want. And so, enjoying that time together. And I think it's given us, we found things that we enjoy doing together that we really didn't take time for before. And so I think our love has grown in that just because we spent more time together. And I think there's no shortcut to a lot of these things. It is spending time together. You can't just grow your love in a marriage, and spend 5 minutes a week together. That's just not going to grow it. You may maintain it, probably not even maintain it.
So I'm in year 32. I've had a lot of my friends divorced because their kids left the house and then they went, who am I married to? But I want to go
Yeah.
back and because our target audience, a huge majority of our guys are in year 1 to 15 in marriage. So you
Yeah.
said that you almost lost your marriage at year 7. How did you come out of that? What did you learn there, and how did you come out of that?
I think what it really did for us, we were at a point it really was kind of on Nancy. She said, I'm not really sure I love you enough to stay married. Well, we just had our son. So this just kind of hit me hard. And we talked about it. We prayed about it. She went to see this godly woman in our church that I will be forever grateful for. Because Nancy went to her telling the story like it was a friend of hers. The lady later told Nancy that I know, Tanya, you're talking about yourself, but basically after all of this, she said, "You tell your friend to trust God, to go back and love your husband, and God's going to make something beautiful out of it." And it was like it was magic for Nancy. She came back and told me that. And the key thing that we did, we took the word divorce off the table. We never brought it up again. That was huge for us because I had used it as a weapon, probably in some ways, or to end a fight, or well, if we're going to fight like this, if you're going to say this, I'll just divorce you. Things like that were just horrible to say. And so when we took divorce off the table in year seven, that was a huge difference for us because then it's like, okay, we're still going to have problems, but we got to work it out and we got to figure it out and we got to do it together and quit pointing fingers at each other and figure this out together. I think we learned to put the problem between us and both of us solve the problem, I'm sorry, in front of us and both of us solve the problem instead of let that problem be between us and fight over her way to solve it and my way to solve it. That was a huge step for us there. Yeah. Yeah, it just made all the difference because then it was like we were solving the problem together. And it just kind of, I don't know that it was some great revelation. I think we just kind of evolved into that and we thought this works because we were listening to each other. We weren't going to think about, Nancy would say something. I'd be the whole time I wouldn't hear what she said because I'm thinking about what as soon as she stops, I've got this brilliant thing I'm going to say that's going to solve the problem and make everything okay. Well, obviously it didn't because she knew right off that I wasn't listening to her.
Are there other contractual
Right.
words that you're hearing that you would tell young couples stop using that word? Are there any other words out there that you're hearing that seem to be more contractual in nature and not covenantal?
Yeah, I think, and I talked a little bit this before. I think the word partner. You were mentioning doing a wedding, and I see that, and I think some of these things have just kind of we've let them creep into our vocabulary and the way we talk about things. And so I think anything that makes us not look at marriage as a covenant would definitely fall into that. And partner, when I think of that, it's like, well, maybe you and I go together and we do a podcast together. We're partners in that. Well, that's a partnership. That's not a covenant. And but marriage is a covenant. And so I think we our culture doesn't really stress that the way it needs to be. I can talk when I do premarital counseling, which I love to do. I mean, that's something that's so important for couples to see. And because you're right, when you see your relationship like that, you've already taken divorce off the table. It's not an option. And there's exceptions. I get it with abuse. There's things that there certainly are exceptions for separation but in general, that's not part of what God's plan was. It wasn't like, I think sometimes I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking to a friend of theirs. They're in their third marriage, and they're only 28. But it's like that person thinks they've married the wrong person 3 times in a row. Well, no, that's not it. And so when you look at divorce as an option and a way out, I think it keeps you from doing the things you need to do to make your marriage work, and then to grow it and to grow your love and things like that. Because you're just saying, if you say that one more time, I'm out of here. And then you go find out somebody else. Well, you have the same problems in every relationships are unique in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of similarities to the way we
Yes.
handle things and the problems we have.